How's it going, Jiu-Jitsu family? Marco Moreno here. Today, what day is today? Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. I'm here to just connect with you guys and talk a little bit about what everybody's been talking in the Jiu-Jitsu community the last 3-4 days. Well, first of all, let me share something personal. I am recovering from a procedure, a meniscus. I had a meniscus tear, and they had to go yesterday. I was under the knife, and they reattached my medial meniscus. And right now I'm recovering. I have to rest. That's why I'm in this impromptu. This is not the usual place for me to go live. I just set up the laptop here in my room, but I have my leg in a cast, and I'm gonna be out of jiu-jitsu. No, not completely. I'm always watching. I'm always surrounded jiu-jitsu, but off the mats for a while. This is has been well. First of all, I've been training for 20 years maybe, and this is my first my first major injury, which it wasn't an accident or anything. I think it was just about to happen. My knees were always weak, and I just was performing a butterfly sweep, and then my knee kind of buckled a little bit, and then turned out that I had a buckled handle meniscus tear, and I had to take care of it. So here I have a brace, and I'm have to use these babies now for a little bit. But I think I've done pretty well in terms of injuries. Um, Training jiu-jitsu, I'm always safe with my students. Safe the techniques that I perform against anybody, or when people do techniques on me too. If they're going too crazy, I always try to have self-defense and protect myself. Try to keep the intensity low. I think it's good to prevent these kind of injuries. And speaking of injuries, this is what has been captivating the discussion the last few days regarding the case of Jack Greener, who became paralyzed in class by his instructor. His instructor performed a technique on him and hurt his neck. We're gonna talk all about it and how this somehow became a controversy with Henner Gracie. Yeah, first of all, it was very unfortunate. If you guys have questions, comments, I'm happy. Feel free, as long as it's done with respect. I will address every question, anything you would like to share with us. John, how's it how's it going, brother? Johnny O'Sullivan. Happy to see you, brother. I hope everything is going well. Um, so yes, Jack Greener, right? I woke up. When was this? Friday. Last Friday, I woke up with the news that a student, jiu-jitsu student, was awarded a $46 million retribution from becoming paralyzed, and that's unfortunate, of course. And my first thought is like, of course, you deserve to be compensated, right? If you had an injury, that guy, if you think about it, he was a young guy about to finish college. His dream was to go to Costa Rica and become a surf instructor. So living the life, a full life ahead of him with dreams, and this all stopped when the injury happened for him. So So what we saw that let me share here the news, how it was presented on the news. Okay, how did we get to know about the case? So let me share like Fox News right here. San Diego jury has awarded more than 46 million to a man who suffered a catastrophic spinal injury during a beginner jiu-jitsu class 5 years ago. Attorneys said Wednesday. Jack Rener was enrolled at Del Mar Jiu-Jitsu Club in 2018 when he was pinned to the mat by an instructor who placed his entire body weight on Greener's neck, according to the lawsuit. The extreme force of the maneuver crushed Mr. Greener's cervical vertebrae, causing the student to fall limp, paralyzed in all extremities, according to a statement from his law firm, Panishi Ball, whatever. So that was terrible, terrible. And what pops in everybody's head is like, man, he was pinned on his head, and this instructor, he was a white belt, and of course the images that come are like of the worst malice, the worst intent. Like the instructor had no regard for the student's safety, and that's what everybody thought. But the case kept getting more nuances, and the plot starts to thicken. Right? We start knowing more details about the case, and here comes Henner Gracie, which I will say as a full disclosure that I was a part of his association, Gracie University, for many years. I I train with Henner. I know Henner, but I stopped the association with him. We part ways this year for different reasons. Nothing personal. Nothing happened really. I felt like I wanted to move on and do more, something more personal, a more personal project. We left in good terms, okay. But I think that I can be objective when I talk about Henner because first of all, I know him personally, and two, I'm not part of his Grace University Association anymore. So I can also tell the things the way I see them, okay? And well, here comes Henner Gracie on his post on Facebook. I saw it on Facebook or on Instagram regarding this case, okay? Because everything would have been just the news, right? Like a student get paralyzed in class, and then he gets awarded 46 million. I mean, accidents happen in sports, different sports, and I would say you hear of football like a head-to-head collision. The football player becomes paralyzed. Soccer, these unfortunate accidents happen in the sport, and we are practicing a dangerous sport, and it's unfortunate, but that happened to him, and that he got a reward for that compensation. I felt like the news would have just ended there, but Henner posted something really interesting that got everybody angry. So let's see here what Henner posted regarding this case. So Henner posted, I was called to testify as an expert witness in this case. I'll pause a thorough video response in the future, but these are the first thoughts I wanted to share publicly. This case was a tragedy in every sense. 23-year-old white belt Jack Rener was sparring at a BJJ school in San Diego when the black belt instructor did a technique that placed his entire body weight on Rener's neck, causing him to instantly fall limp and lose all function of his limbs. Jiu-Jitsu is incredibly effective, but it can also be incredibly dangerous if precautions are not taken to reduce the likelihood of injury, particularly for beginners. Jiu-Jitsu was designed to empower the weak against the strong. As BJJ school owners and instructors, we have a responsibility to create a learning path that is both safe and structured, so that every student can learn the art and build their confidence from day one, without risk of otherwise avoidable catastrophic injury. Jack, an inspiring surf instructor, will never regain full function of his limbs, but I'm hopeful that this ruling will ease the burdens that he and his family will face for the rest of his life. I'm also hopeful that this case will serve as a much needed reminder to the entire industry of the massive responsibility we shoulder every time a new student trusts us to guide them on their Jiu-Jitsu journey. At Gracie University, the safety of our students will always be our top priority, and it will always be a core reason why we do things the way we do. So that was Henner Gracie's comment on the case, and got a lot of people mad because there are many issues with this statement. Okay, so first, now everybody got to learn that Henner was an expert witness and that he got paid to give a testimony, and he got paid $3,000, okay, per 1 hour, and he did like 40 hours, so he did over 120 grand to become an expert witness in the case. The other thing that got people mad about this statement was that they felt like the way he described the technique when he says place his entire body weight on Greener's neck, causing him to instantly fall limp. When you see the video, then you see it and you go like, wait, this is just a normal roll. This is not a super dangerous technique. So the technique, when people start looking into the case, right, they found out many things, many issues, right? One, that the technique was almost looked like a normal technique. Okay, so it wasn't didn't have this element of being a super dangerous. And at one point, I think this has been edited, but the original post said something about being a spike on his head, right? And you see the technique, and you're like, there is no spike on the head when you see the video of the instructor rolling with the student. The other thing that gets people mad is that Henner always, he brings he's been doing this for a while. He brings students from that went to sport jiu-jitsu schools and had a bad experience, and then he brings them to Gracie University, or the students come to Gracie University, and they love it. They love the instructor, and they love everything about it. And then, in a way, he used the marketing to promote his school by almost trash talk on how other jiu-jitsu schools, they don't keep safety standards, right? Or they go too rough. So he's been doing this for a while, and on this, when he talks about this is a call for everybody to be responsible, it almost sounds a little patronizing, right? And then he pitched at the end. He pitched at Gracie University. We we care for our students, and uh, safety is our priority, right? And then everybody gets affected by these words because it makes it look like they have the monopoly. Grace University is the only way, or they are the only ones who keep safety standards or do the jiu-jitsu the right way. Okay, when that is not true, right? There might be there are bad schools out there. There are good schools. There are good schools that are not part of Grace University. Okay, that keep good safety standards. I visited many schools that are not part of Gracie University, that everybody's super cool and friendly and respectful and fun, right? I myself, yeah, the sparring sometimes there are there are schools that are a little bit like more intense, students compete, right? But um, that doesn't mean that everybody's out there hurting each other or trying to like spike everybody in their heads, right? So that way of pitching Grace University, I think, rub people the wrong way. Um, um, and then the other thing is the student Jack Greener, who supposedly became paralyzed and was never, according to Henner, was never gonna be recover function of his limbs. And then later on, we found out that he actually has recovered. Lucky, thanks God. um, so he's walking. He's not walking like normal, like you and me, right? But he's not just in a wheelchair for life, right? He's up, he's walking. I saw a video of him walking with canes. He's actually climbing a mountain, right? Of course, with difficulty, but he's out there fighting, and I feel super glad that he's doing well. But so Henner posted this, and the jiu-jitsu community just turned against him. And let's look at some comments here from people like Ton de Blas. Let's look at it, their angle versus the statement on Henner. And let me say something also about the hate for Henner Gracie. I think if you think about this, it actually comes from Horion, his father. Uh, Horion Gracie back in the day had a lawsuit with a cousin um, about the name Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, right? He wanted to trademark the word Gracie Jiu-Jitsu for him. And all the cousins, of course, were like, how are you just gonna be, what about us? We can also use Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So it became a big lawsuit. And ever since, I think, um, the Jiu-Jitsu, because even Hickson, his own brother, Hanso, all the cousins, right? Carly, Gracie, uh, they just start not liking Horion so much because of of those ways of doing business, and they always had this like only for money or just for business, very business oriented people, right? And Henner was is always being known as a sales guy. I mean, he's always he created Grace University, which was awesome. If you think about it, it was a revolutionary. Everybody is doing online videos now, right? And Henner was the first one. But the problem was that Henner started giving blue belts when online students would test, right? So what happened? It became the stereotype became he's selling online blue belts, right? And that stereotype stick, even though later he changed it and the students would not get a blue belt, they will only get a combative belt. But ever since, Henner's always been under fire by the jiu-jitsu community for being a sellout, for only caring about money, and just a businessman, right? And I think the criticism has preceded this case, and with this case, it just exploded to more proportions. So let's look at some members of the jiu-jitsu community about Henner statements, and let me say another thing too before I continue. Cousins of Horion will always criticize Horion for changing the story, right? When Horion came to America, he was saying that my father learned jiu-jitsu, he modified and he created Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, right? And the cousins were like, but where is Carlos Gracie? You know, this is our father or our uncle, and you're just pretty much erasing him from history. And so they have a way of changing their story a little bit for their protection of their own interests. So this statement was almost something similar for everybody out there. Like, oh, he's just being taking this part and this part to make him look well and to patronize about the jiu-jitsu community, and it's all about money, right? And he charged money. He got paid to say this. So this is what set everybody on fire. But let's look at some of the comments here from other jiu-jitsu members of the community, very respected members of the community, like let's see here. The BJJ community is becoming increasingly agitated with Henner Gracie due to his expert witness testimony in the Jack Rener. Oh, by the way, this is BJJ Eastern Europe, where Greener was left paralyzed and is now a quadriplegic after a freak accident. Specifically, Greener's BJJ coach went for a Leo Vieira-style backtake. In the process, the student seemed to have turned his head to the side, resulting in a crushed vertebrae. Greener is now a quadriplegic, and the jury recently ruled in his favor, deciding that he is to be awarded $46 million for compensation for medical expenses, loss of earnings, and emotional distress. And then they talk about Henner's statement. And now it says, a big part of the jiu-jitsu community is becoming agitated with Henner. Why? As it's been reported by many, he earned $3,000 per hour for the testimony. And after the video of the incident got released, many are accusing him of twisting the truth about the incident for the sake of profit. Many notable figures in the sports are criticizing Henner Gracie, such as Tom the Blast. I always like Henner, I even endorse him. However, for him to testify against this instructor and make it seem as though it were malicious makes me sick. Not everyone in this martial art has multiple sources of income like you and I, Henner. Their academy is how they eat. Your words made these instructors look terrible. Tom the Blast talking about Henner's statements. To whoever is reading this, I vouch for the instructor. It was an honest mistake. Furthermore, this was not the student's first day of training, as the article made it seem. He was experienced. Henner, I'd gladly do an Instagram live with you and debate this subject. We're both OGs, we're both educated and both respected. This is my last post on this subject unless Henner wants to set up an Instagram live. He's invited Henner to talk on Instagram. And then Don de Blas says, I cannot imagine what you must have felt. It's talking about the black belt, whose nickname is Sinistro. To the student injury, my God, help you recover fully. My heart breaks knowing you had to go through the injury you did. Draculino, after the video, it was clear that people tried to profit out of this. Thanks God the kid is getting better. That is most important. But Henner lost all my respect. I also like him and lots of the things he did. But now, Mo Jassim, he organized Abu Dhabi. Henner gets paid $3,000 an hour to testify and says this was done with malice intent while promoting his own school. This sport never ceases to amaze me. So I think it's understandable some of this negative reaction from these Jiu-Jitsu personalities about the way they felt. I think their interpretation was that Henner was saying that the instructor, Iturralde, he did it in a malicious way, right? So, and then of course that he got paid to do this, and then they were saying like things like the student Jack Rener, he was a white belt, of course, but he was a competitive white belt. He was a wrestler, so was not a brand new white belt like the statement made it look. And they just didn't like that Henner sided with the defense, right? I'm sorry, not with the defense, with Jack Rener, who is the one who is suing the black belt instructor. In their minds, Henner is selling himself to put a black belt instructor in a bad light, right? And this has to do a lot with the technique. So there is, as I said, there's many aspects of this, right? One is that he got paid good money, $3,000 per hour for 40 hours. Two, the technique, right? The student who supposedly is paralyzed, but now is not paralyzed. The suggestion that he was a brand new student, where in fact he was a white belt, but a very competitive and tough white belt. And the pitch to Gracie University by batching other jiu-jitsu organizations. Cool, but let's look at the technique, okay? Because there's a lot of things going on here, right? So students sometimes look at the technique and they go, oh, that's a Leo Vieira back take. okay? So let me see if we can. Leo Vieira, by the way, he was yeah, it's been a long time now. He actually did this technique on Eddie Bravo in Abu Dhabi 2003. So he's been doing this back take forever, right? Yeah, we should first look at Leo Vieira's back take somewhere here. Let me see. Well, anyway, supposedly you can do this move in a safe way, and it's been around for a long time, and it's not like people got injury every time, right? But let's see if we can.
Okay, guys, we're here today with Leo Vieira.
See if we can look at the technique.
Huge honor for me. He's the founder of, and also like, so you don't set up a seatbelt, you set up finger.
Right here. Right here is Leo Vieira teaching.
So you start put the pressure on the upper body, putting your head in the ground to set up. So when you move your leg, you want to put the person on top of your chest for you make the hook. So then that's when you switch to the seat belt.
So one more time, Leslie. So and also like, so you don't set up a seatbelt, you set up finger.
Side here. So I move my head almost touching the chin and then I'm out.
Okay.
So it's like I try to put my head inside here. So I move my head
Got it.
to roll. I hold, it's like I hold myself, I go like to north-south myself, but the way that I press, your head making you roll.
I got it. Well, Leslie, and if the guy is much heavier than you, is there any different secret that you use?
So that's the back take, the famous Leo Vieira back take. I actually haven't seen many people lately that keep doing that back take. Have you? Like, I've been to many jiu-jitsu competitions. I watch jiu-jitsu. Have you seen Gordon Ryan like do a back take like that? It's almost got discontinued. But apparently that's the move that the instructor attempted on the student. So, but the thing is this, right? Like, let's see the technique. Okay, let's see the move first. Okay, and listen, this is the video came after Henner was saying something like uncontrolled weight on the guys, on the student's head, and also he said something about being a spike on his head. Okay, I think he edited now. I couldn't find the original post where he says being a spike on his head. But if you see the technique right here, it's on the back and attempts the Leo Vieira back take. The student rolled his head the wrong way, and therefore he got the injury. Let's see it again, okay? So Iturralde is on top, the black belt. Greener is on the bottom. He attempts that he jumps up, and Greener falls limp. One more time. Jumps feet up. Head goes the other way. And then Jack Greener falls limp. So so people now is mad at Henner because now they're saying Henner, he wasn't spike on his head. What are you talking about? This is it's a technique that it could be done. It's been done, and the student rolled his head the wrong way. Now, why do you have to testify, right? So, and I saw that and I was like, yeah, that looked like a back take. That looked like a normal back take. But then, yeah, like, and of course it's not malicious, but I don't think the instructor was malicious at any point, right? He didn't want to hurt his student for sure. But then comes, so that's what caused all the outrage, all the outrage. So now we have a technique that Henner painted as like super responsible and put the student on his head, and then he charged money for it, and then he's saying something about the instructor being the student being a brand new white belt, but turned out he was not. That the what else Henner says, he will never regain full function on his limbs, right? But now it turned out that he's actually making a recovery. And then he pitching Gracie University, right? The safety of our student, as if Gracie University was the only organization who cares for the safety. Cool. And then they saw the technique and turned out it doesn't look that bad. But now comes Henner response to the outrage. Okay. And I think he made good points. Okay, because Henner starts by saying, all right, well, first everybody's just piling on him, Ton de Blas and Draculino and all these guys we just read, all the criticism, right? But then comes Henner video response to all this. And he had good points on this. So I think we all should be. It's easy to take teams, right? It's so common in jiu-jitsu. In every politics, we like to take teams and say, I'm against this guy and I hate you, right? And then, but it's important to see the picture, right? The truth, which is like some things he said, they are not honest. But something, he's right in some things. Okay? So it's good that we see and kind of just see the facts for what they are. Okay? My friend here. And I if you guys comment, as long as it's with respect, I will share your comments of any side. If you're against Henner, as long as your criticism is with respect, I'll post it, I share it. If you are a pro Henner too, everybody's welcome. It's not his place to say that what he says is the truth. Right? As I said, his statement, his original statement, was worded in a way that made him and his organization look like the safe place, the only ones, and everybody else is just a bunch of barbaric people. And to the outsiders, to the new students, the potential new students, oh man, everybody's barbaric, I should just go to Henner, right, and his organization. So yeah, in that sense, the way he present the case. I think he was not painting the full picture. Okay, but then comes his response, and I think he made good points too. Okay, I think first of all, can you be liable even for a harm you cause on somebody even if it was not intentional? Yes, you can. And Henner puts the example of if you are driving and you don't want to hit anybody, but then you check your cell phone or whatever, and you hit somebody. It was not malicious. You don't want to hurt that person, but you did. You're gonna help liable for that, right? And then he starts also by saying that at any point his his testimony was to determine if it was malicious or it was not malicious. He was just giving a technical opinion on the technique, removed from if this was the intention was to hurt the student or not. Okay, so a lot of the accusations were like, oh, for you to suggest this was malicious. Well, he never suggested that the the technique was with malicious intent. Okay. Two, he made a good point about when you see clearly, right? When you see clearly, the technique, even though it looks like a Leo Vieira's back take, is not really a Leo Vieira's back take because the arm is strapped. Okay, and that does make a lot of difference. So let me look at Henner's response video and see, and let's see what he shows. Okay. Right here. So now we get to look in more depth what Henner meant by the use of that technique.
Over a year and a half ago, I was retained as an expert witness on the Greener case to give my expert opinions, which I did. The reason I'm making this video is to explain the evidence as I saw it and the reasons why I felt this tragedy could have been prevented. Additionally,
here is
I want
Henner
to share some
talking.
of the things I learned along the way that I think will be very helpful for everyone from BJJ students to school owners. As many of you have come to learn, on November 29th, 2018, Jack Greener, a 23-year-old
Let's just go to
white belt in Jiu-Jitsu,
the video is
someone
about
who
20
did
minutes.
have experience
I can play the
competing,
whole thing.
was participating in a class at Del Mar Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego when, while sparring with the head instructor of the class, second-degree black belt Francisco Iturralde, sustained a broken neck, rendering him a quadriplegic, leaving him with significant and permanent injuries,
I cannot forward this.
Limited function of all four limbs.
I cannot forward this video, but I'll go check it on Instagram. What do you guys think about all this? So here we have a student who got paralyzed in class. Henner Gracie as an expert witness, making it look like this was a malicious technique used by the instructor who hurt his student. And then the Jiu-Jitsu community react against Henner because they saw the video, determined that there was no malicious intent. And now we're looking at Henner's response to the Jiu-Jitsu community. So let me see if we can play, okay?
Opinion. which I did. The reason I'm making this
And
video
the thing with Instagram is that it's hard to.
I saw it and the reasons why.
It's hard to. Let me see if I can find it here on my phone. It's hard to like
I was
forward.
retained.
Oh, here it is. I got it. I got you guys. So let's look at Henner's response to the outrage from the. Here it is.
As many of you have come to learn, 9th, 2018, Jack Greener, a 23-year-old white belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
You guys
Someone
hear
who
this
did
or not?
have experience competing, was participating in a class at Del Mar Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego.
I cannot hear it.
While sparring with the head instructor of the class, second-degree black belt Francisco Iturralde, sustained a broken neck, rendering like the one Mr. Greener of certainty and control. Thank you, Cameron.
So Henner's explaining here how
when you don't have the shoulder in the back of the neck, and then add to that arms framing on the mat. This is the humerus bone, the structure it gives him, right? His forearm, it's still his. Even though I'm high, he still owns the arm.
Iturralde
If I have
actually
a true over/under where my arm is in fact over the shoulder,
the arm.
once again, Cameron,
So
reach over your head.
he's
your
showing
arm around.
here
So you see, his arms are still his. You see, guys.
how this is the safe
Versus
way. This is the Leo
this.
Vera way. But this
And now,
right now
I
is
decided I'm
how
going to go full tilt straight
Iturralde
to his
had
foreleg into
this,
the ground.
the student.
Boom. And then dive
Okay.
and flip and turn over. So,
with the arm trap.
yeah. So this was the added concern of having the
One more time.
arms are in fact around the torso and instead of being over the shoulder in a conventional manner, double underhook manner underneath both of Greener's armpits. So modified arm configuration that resulted
arm
in the neck break. Let me
Of
demonstrate
Jack
this one with
Greener
Cameron as
was
well.
trapped
So Cameron, if you're here once again,
during the roll.
so this is what
And
it was,
this,
friends.
in my
Instead of being
opinion,
over under or a high
changes
double
things.
underhook.
So
right?
this is the Leo
In
Vera
both
back
cases,
take.
Cameron has the freedom of his arms.
Where
In
you
this
go
case, Iturralde actually wrapped the arm
under.
and
But
locked
this
Greener's
right
elbow
now
into his
is how
body here,
Iturralde
right?
trapped
And
the
then he
arm.
initiated the technique diving forward,
So now
placing the forehead of Greener directly into the mat.
he's not placing the
going this
shoulder
way, and then
behind the
forcing
head, which
the
is
head
what
this
makes
direction,
him roll.
The body in that direction, and then the torso is actually landing back in the opposite direction, causing the neck break. So what's important to recognize here is that there are
At
two
the same time,
huge concerns when the arm
he's taking that
configuration,
arm
instead
that
of following the
sometimes he
conventional
shows
method,
as support.
right, for the reasons listed. When you go to this modified configuration where you have a body lock, but you have the arm, right, encompassed in the body lock. The reason why this is problematic for this specific technique
The arm
is twofold.
is
Number
trapped
one
in the video.
is that my
Iturralde
shoulder
trapped
is nowhere near his head. Right, I can't have a
the
body
white
lock.
belt
My shoulder simply doesn't
Jack
reach.
Greener's
So I cannot
arm.
bind Cameron's elbow to his body
In doing so,
and simultaneously
he cannot
shock
drive the
back of
shoulder
his
on the
It doesn't
head,
reach. Only
which
if I were
allows the safe
here
roll.
Can I reach? And even if I had double
And
underhooks
he's
and my
taking
head
a
goes to the
support.
ground, you can see my shoulder reaches the back of his
right?
head.
That's the proper way
But
with the
the
shoulder on the back.
Arm wrapped in the lock here.
Without the
It's
arm,
impossible for my shoulder to reach the back of his head. So that's the first
without the
problem, is I
arm,
can't
he doesn't
shock
have the arm
head.
support
Therefore,
to roll
I
either.
have no control of the recipient's head during this technique. And as we know, control of the head is the number one prerequisite
Leo Vera
for the
back
safe
take.
application of the rolling back take. The second problem with trapping someone's
And
arm like
this
this, besides
is
not
the-
shocking the head, is that the recipient of the technique doesn't have
The
their
way
arm
Iturralde
to
had
just
the
base out and frame and just
arm.
support their weight, right? So even if I do a double underhook variation and I go forward, right, Cameron's arms still support his body from doing
Cool.
anything crazy. Is much less likely because he has those arms framing on the mat. This is the humerus bone, the structure it gives him, right? His forearm. It's still his. Even though I'm high, he still
Yep.
over-under,
The arm
and if I have a
right
true
there
over-under
is
where my arm
like
is in
a
fact
support
over the shoulder,
for
once
the
again,
student to roll.
Cameron, reach over your head, move your arm around you, so you can see his arms are still his. You see, guys, versus
when there is no
this.
arm.
And now
they take
I decide I'm going to
one
go full tilt straight to his
important
forehead into the
support,
ground. Boom. And then dive and flip and
and the
turn over.
student roll his head
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
the
So
wrong
this
way.
was the added concern of having the arm trapped.
Okay,
and
so
not
I think
over a year and a half ago.
Henner had a point, a good point there. Okay, even though it was a fluke accident, John O'Tree looked like it was a fluke injury during a scramble. Yes, of course, it was a fluke accident, but this is the question. I feel like this is the question. Could the instructor, could he have used a safer technique? Did he have to use that technique? Right? And the answer is yes. There is like dozens of techniques that you can do from the turtle that doesn't involve you trapping the arm and jumping with your feet up. Danaher always talk about how the biggest cause of injuries is uncontrolled body weight, falling, jumping guard, scissor jumps to the leg, and this is one of them, right? If you throw your feet up in the air, it's just gravity. There is no time to go back. If you already, if the student, and you leave it to the student to turn the right way. So I feel like the student was compensated, and that was fair. It was fair that he got compensation. He got hurt during his jiu-jitsu class. The instructor chose a technique that involves a risk. You know, it's kind of risky. They are safer. You can pull somebody. That's Henner is right on that part. You know, you can do the seatbelt and roll to the side. Okay, you don't even have to roll over like the Leo Vera back take. I haven't seen that technique. I've never used it myself. I remember back in the day we were trying to figure it out when we were start seeing Leo Vera using it. And we end up using more like shoulder on the head and turning more to the side, never jumping over. It looked always like acrobatic maneuver to do. And I haven't seen it many use, because a lot of people say, oh, that technique is so common. But I don't think it's a common technique anymore. I haven't seen it used in competition, and not even in class. It's not like a go-to back take for the turtle, from the turtle position, right? And I guess in that sense, I do side with Henner in that the instructor could have used, he was not malicious. I don't think no instructor wants to hurt their student, right? But at least he chose a risk move, and therefore he had to be held responsible. Okay, and now let's look at now Iturralde comes and starts showing the safe roll. And let's see what he says here, okay? It's very important. Now, the instructor answers. Henner Gracie shows how safe the rolling back take from the 46 million BJJ injury court case really is. All right, let's look at him showing how safe the move is. This is now Iturralde talking about why this move is safe. Okay. Oh, by the way, Henner on his video, he says, when applied correctly, this technique directs the recipient of the technique over one of their shoulders or directly over their head. But when applied incorrectly, the consequences can be devastating. When correctly applied, the technique can be applied from a body lock where both arms are underneath the recipient's armpits. Or it can be done with an over-under grip configuration or seatbelt configuration, one arm over the neck and shoulder of the recipient and the other under their opposite armpit. Blah, blah, blah. When you trap the arm, they have no control of the recipient head during this technique. So he's showing the problems about having the arm trap. But now Iturralde here, he's saying, Sinistro Iturralde. Rolling back take, I learned this technique watching a black belt world champion performing it during a training session in Atlanta back when I was a blue belt. Very efficient technique when facing a partner with a heavy base that won't allow to roll them over the first attempt. The video Henner made explaining that trapping the arm was dangerous and caused the accident was total BS. The accident was an unfortunate, crazy accident, and it was because the bottom player did the entirely wrong thing trying to avoid the back take. Oh, so Iturralde is saying the bottom player did the entirely wrong thing trying to avoid the bad take. I have done this back take a million times with zero issues. It was a freak accident. Nothing was done wrong or out of control. And it's so shocking a figure like Henner would have said anything different. So let's look at the video.
Alright, crew, I'm going to show a back take that I enjoy doing. This one you may try when you have a very strong partner that is not allowing you to roll over the shoulder, okay? So let's say we made our way to the back, right? I'm going to go for a modified seatbelt. So instead of going over the shoulder, I'm going to go around his biceps, okay? This is going to be a lot better for chopping this leg of the table. That way, when I roll just a little bit over the side, my partner's going to fall over because he has no base over his side. So the only way my partner can roll, or I'm forcing him to roll, is over his left side. So we're going to go right here. Now the easy way of doing this technique, or the basic way, is just stay tight and roll over the shoulder, opening the leg wide, so I can make my partner roll. Now let's say my partner...
Okay, that's safe.
And he doesn't fall over this side. Maybe I tried already to take it back on a roll before or during this same roll, and he's not falling for it. So I'm going to do a modified version, and this is going to allow me to distract my partner so I can redirect him into the other side. Check it out. So from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift up, and I'm going to base with my foot right into his head. Once I base it, I'm going to bring my knee over his other side, and then roll him all the way over and secure the back. As you can see, my partner has no arm right there, so I can just bring it around here, start attacking with the arm, I'm going to let go of the seat, my partner wants to sit up. Once he starts to sit up, let's sit up and push his face and secure the arm too. Alright, so I'm going to show you one more time.
So what he's doing, he's not doing the Leo Vieira back take. Jumping to the side.
All the way over, and we can work on the choke to allow the side. I'm gonna post a video too.
Okay.
On the do's.
So this is Iturralde showing the move. Okay. Yeah, really interesting because first he said no, the arm trap is not an issue because you just roll to the side like this. Okay, but that's not what you did on the video of the injury. Okay, and now he's saying that if you jump to the one side and then jump to the other side, then it's safe. So now we're not talking about the Leo Vera backtake. We're talking about just a jump he was trying to do to one side in order to get to the other side. And then that the student, what does he say here? He said, the unfortunate crazy accident was because the bottom player did the entirely wrong thing trying to avoid the backtake. Okay, but this is the issue, right? Like, are you gonna perform a technique that is gonna rely on the student doing the right thing, and if they don't do the right thing, it can cause a severe spine damage. So that's the debate. Okay, so that's gonna have to be the debate. Everybody has to draw their own conclusions. My personal opinion is that he could have used a safer technique. Okay, I have videos of myself sparring with white belts and blue belts. I love sparring with white belts and blue belts because the idea of rolling with white belts, blue belts, lower belts is because you get to flow more, because you kind of use them to take your back, to give the arm bar, to sweep you, and it's fun. When you spar with somebody your same level, it's almost like very tight, and depends, there are tight guys who flow roll, but if you see the videos when I roll, it's very fluid. It's like you don't have. It's almost if you spar with a kid, you're not gonna use this technique. You just flow roll, boom, push them here, because you are the experienced person, so you don't have to resort to these jumps. Okay, so I feel bad for him, for Iturralde, for going through all that, but I feel bad also for the guy who got injured. I was saying at the beginning how I just got my a simple meniscus surgery, and he went through all like a process of waiting, and then I'm gonna be put out. I have to say my wife bye. I don't know if I'm coming, if I'm waking up, and there is a little bit tension. It's a simple procedure, and this guy went from like several procedures, not knowing if he was gonna walk again. So I feel like it's fair that he got compensated. Okay, apparently the insurance from the school that he got hurt didn't want to cover. So if imagine you being paralyzed and you're not nobody, like you are going over all these expenses. And how much are these surgeries? Like these surgeries are super expensive, man. So your life is not gonna be the same. So I'm happy that he got rewarded. Let's read what you guys say here. Hey, brother David, Sinistro also posted a video on Instagram about the move. Did you see it? What do you think? Yes, we just watched it. I feel like again he's not saying that he attempted the back take, the Leo Vieira back take. He's showing that he jumped to the side and then jumped to the other side, which in that case would have been safer. But he said that the guy, the white belt, respond the wrong way. So yeah, could have. I get, but the thing is this, right? On the court deposition, he actually recognized it, rather recognize that he could have done a safer move. So he even is like, yeah, I guess it's my responsibility to 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 be safe when I roll with my students. So he's even recognizing there in court that it was a risky move, you know. Tanner definitely looked like a. How's it going, brother? Good to hear from you. Didn't get a spike on his head. He did not get a spike on the head. I think that was I was trying to find the original post from Henner when he talks about being a spike on his head. I couldn't find it. I think it was edited, but definitely, yeah, and that's what caused all the controversy, because people are accusing Henner of just giving like a segue, like a edited version of the whole thing, when the whole case had many nuances, right? And how Henner is trying to profit from this whole case. So Tanner is saying, when we will roll, even if it got intense, it will always be flowing. Yeah, I feel like roll should be flowing. You know, that's when you learn more. When you flow, when you go hard, it does have a good workout, but it's good for a workout when you roll hard. But the intensity, that's gonna increase the risk for injuries. Okay, cool, you guys. So let's look at and I'm gonna finish here. By the way, speaking of money, people getting outraged about the money. Henner also donated 100,000 for the who he donated this to. Um, Spinal cord injury network. So when people is getting caught up on the Henner got paid, now he has donated after facing the backlash of his original statement. What else? Some people start looking at the court testimonies. Maybe we can look at this, because I feel like here is also where I can draw a criticism towards Henner, because let's read this and then we finish. Okay, guys. So court documents show Henner Gracie direct quotes during the trial. Okay. Dan Lookhart, who has access to the court documents, has shared direct quotes from Henner during the trial. This is from the deposition, not the testimony or cross-examination. So this is Dan Lookhart, who has access to court documents of the deposition. This is Henner's quotes during the deposition. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are from white to blue to purple to brown to black to red, with the red belt rank being the most advanced rank in the sport. The white belt is the least advanced rank in the sport and denotes a beginner with little to no experience. It is industry custom for beginners to have courses separate and apart from advanced practitioners so as to ensure the beginners receive the proper care and attention. Pursuant to industry standards, beginners should complete an introductory course to learn basic techniques in a safe and responsible way without the dangerous maneuvers that are used at more advanced levels. So let's keep reading and then we'll discuss. Immediately prior to his injury, Mr. Greener was in a defensive position known as turtle position, essentially balled up on the mat with his face down. If an opponent is in a turtle position, the goal is to safely put that person on their side or to take the back. There are many ways to take the back of a person in the turtle position. To take the back of a person in the turtle position, one could put their feet inside to secure the back. One could move to the side, knock them off balance with a knee, and then lock legs around them. But the safest method is just to pull the person onto their side. On the day of the incidents, Mr. Uturralde did not use any of the traditional methods to take Mr. Greener's back. Instead of performing a routine and safe back take, Mr. Iturralde pinned Mr. Greener to the mat, put all his pressure on Mr. Greener's neck, and jumped with both feet in the air, attempting to perform a front flip. The maneuver which Mr. Iturralde attempted was an extremely dangerous technique known as a forward flip back take, which is used by only the most experienced of practitioners, and even then it is typically only applied on equally skilled opponents who have received extensive training on how to properly receive the technique without sustaining crippling injuries. It is industry custom that instructors have discretion over which Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques to teach. It is contrary to industry custom for an instructor to perform a forward flip back take on anyone who has not received extensive instruction and practice on the technique. Performing a forward flip back take on a white belt without prior instruction will be an extremely departure from the range of ordinary activity involved in teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can be performed and is regularly practiced without the forward flip back take. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu without a forward flip back take is common and normal. The forward flip back take is not a fundamental or essential technique of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, so what do you guys think? Well, first of all, Henner is saying that is, what does he say? Industry custom, industry standard. It's industry custom for beginners to have courses separate and apart from advanced practitioners. And really there is not an industry custom for that. Many schools do it. They separate white belts from advanced belts, but a lot of jiu-jitsu schools put the white belts with advanced belts, and nothing really happens. Really, there is no, like, this is the thing, right? Like, I feel like Henner sometimes thinks that that's the way to go, that to have separate, and I believe the same thing. But there are schools that put white belts with advanced, and it seems to work for them, right? White belts love it. That, like, there is market for everybody, right? There is students who like the intensity, going with advanced. They are happy, they are proud that they are white belts, and they're rolling with purples and browns. And there's people who don't like just going in there and just getting beat up by all these advanced belts. So that's when they go to schools like Gracie University. But so it's not industry custom to have beginners courses separate from advanced. And yeah, I do agree that there are safer methods to pull the person on their side. It is contrary to industry custom for an instructor to perform a forward flip back take on anyone who has not received extensive instruction and practice on the technique. Well, this is also, I think I kind of disagree on this one, because sometimes we do use techniques that the student doesn't know it, right? We don't have to just use the techniques that the students knows it. As a matter of fact, many times we want to test the technique. We don't want to tell them that the technique exists, or and then they're like, oh, but what do you do? And then you show them the technique. It's not like you have to, and it's industry custom that you just have to do the techniques that the student knows, so you have taught him before in order for you to do the technique on him. I feel like that's not really industry custom, and I don't see why it should be like that. As long as it's a safe technique, of course, you can do an advanced technique. I do it all the time. I do a sweep. I do a variation of mount or side mount, chokes, different strangulations. And the guy's like, hey, show me, what did you do there? What? Oh, yeah, look, let me show you. And then you show them after the fact. It's impossible for you to roll and know what every student knows and doesn't know, right? So I guess I do agree with him when he says that he could have put the student on his side. Anyway, I think this is where we are in this case. And today, I think Henner posted something. I'm going to finish with this. Okay. Because the concern is that now this is a precedent, right? Like that what's going to happen is that anyone who gets injury in Jiu-Jitsu class is going to sue the instructor, is going to sue the academy, and is going to call Henner Gracie and pay him a $3,000 per hour for him to testify against the instructor or instead of the academy. Like now Henner has all this power to bring an instructor down, right? If an accident happened at the school, right? So now there is this fear, like, man, injuries happen, right? I just got a meniscus operation. It happened me not doing anything risky. It was just me doing butterfly elevator sweep, my knee buckle. Nobody ever put a heel hook. Nobody landed in a scissor-like way on my knee or anything, right? So instructors now are saying anybody who gets hurt at my school now is going to sue me and is going to call Henner Gracie to testify against me. So let's see what, and this is not a precedent, right? A bad precedent. And this is what Henner has to say about it. Let's look at it. A lot of the concern seems to be that this lawsuit will set a precedent and that BJJ's future is somehow at stake. Attorney Eric McGracken of Combat Sports Law clarifies. What's interesting is that nobody's saying that the fact that someone can be paralyzed is going to hurt Jiu-Jitsu. They are saying the fact that there is a lawsuit is going to hurt Jiu-Jitsu. The reality is that is not true. McGracken states, this lawsuit didn't create any new precedent. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the law. The law always has been and still is. If you are a coach, you have to take care of your students. You have to teach things in a reasonable, safe way. And if you don't, you can be sued for the harm you caused. Here, the jury thought the coach didn't do things safely. That's all this case is about. It's not going to undo the sport. Bottom line, and this is Henner talking, this situation was incredibly unique and precedent, if any, will be limited the actual facts of this case. Any injury that happens at a different school with a different technique by different people under different circumstances will be analyzed through an equally unique lens. For the sake of students everywhere and for the sake of Jiu-Jitsu, the important questions every school owner should be asking themselves is, how can I reduce the likelihood of catastrophic injury at my school? And that's it, you guys. So again, very, very complicated case. Unfortunate, sad, that happened for everybody. And yes, I feel like you draw your conclusions. People is gonna keep hating Henner, right? As I said, he's done things, you know. He's known as the sales guy, and that he can sell his soul, and there's people who never gonna change that concept about him. Okay, but you also have to look at some of the things he's right about this. Okay, and which is we just need to be safe as instructors in class and promote this culture of protecting each other to avoid tragedies like this. And it can be done. And hopefully this doesn't happen again. Cool? Awesome. I don't know what else to say, guys. Thank you very much for being here. To the people out there who are now like, oh man, I'm gonna go to Jiu-Jitsu and that's what's gonna happen to me. I feel like this is a rare case, and as I said, it could happen in any sport. Really, I'm amazed how it doesn't happen more often in wrestling, for example. Wrestlers are way more intense than Jiu-Jitsu guys. To the point, Jiu-Jitsu is almost lazy compared to wrestling. Jiu-Jitsu, you're on your back, you turn so slow. Wrestling is like, go, standing. It's fully going all the time. And there's more takedowns, judo takedowns. Boom. Jiu-Jitsu is relatively safe, you guys, but yes, do go to a school and try and see, right? Now this is the thing, guys. As I said at the beginning, I ran a school from as part as Gracie University, CTC, for a long time. okay? And I was running my curriculum, combatives, right? And then advanced. And I have had students who left this safe environment because they wanted something more competitive, right? And they went to American Top Team, they went to Yamasaki, and they were happy there, right? I wanna have more competition. I wanna be more competitive. I wanna go to competitions more. So yeah, man, go ahead. And I had students who come to me saying, "Oh, I went to that school, and man, everybody's crazy there. Everybody's rolling too hard." So I guess you, as a new prospect that wants to start jiu-jitsu, you have to go and check different schools, right? Most schools offer you a free trial, so go ahead and try and see, like, are you tough, a competitive guy who's very athletic, in good shape, young? Then you can find a school with people like you who wants to go hard and compete. You know, if you have dreams of competing, go to this where everybody there is focused on achieving competition gold medals and like that, right? So go and join them. You're gonna be you're gonna be pushed and trained really hard. Okay. Maybe you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you're a business person, you just IT guy, office, you have a family, you are older, you're over 30, 35, 40. Hey, I just want to learn jiu-jitsu. I think jiu-jitsu is also my art. Then maybe you find a school like that offers you that environment where it's a little bit safer. They have white belts, advanced belts. So but you're gonna have to decide. But I feel like my guess is that most schools do these injuries, the very like paralyzing, are very rare. This is like the first time I heard it in a long time of a student being paralyzed in a jiu-jitsu class. So you're gonna be safe for the most part. Are gonna happen injuries? Yes. You're gonna tweak your finger, right? Jiu-jitsu is called the gentle art, but it's a contact sport. Let's not paint jiu-jitsu as being like, this tai chi where they don't even touch each other, right? Or jiu-jitsu is a contact sport. It's rough. It's people on top, cross-facing, knee on belly, chokes, arm bars, right? And in that rolling, things happen. You tweak your neck, you hurt your elbow, right? But for the most part, go to school and see the environment, and I think you'll be okay. Cool. Go learn, train jiu-jitsu, and see what's best for you. And if you're an instructor, let this be a warning to keep creating a culture of safety with you and your students, and also between your students with each other, to avoid any risk moves. Maybe what I've been thinking about is like making a list of banned techniques. I heard Danaher has banned techniques. There's one Tani Otochi where your head is in front and you step up on the back. You can hurt your partner's knee. I will definitely ban this technique, and then I think there are others who we have to be very careful of the way we teach. All right, everybody, be safe and have a good one. I'll catch you on the next one.